Get strong.
Well, hello, everybody. This is your host, LeeAnne Hayden of the Beautiful Bag Podcast. And I know it's been a minute. It is the day that this recording will be released, will be January 1st, 2025. Now, the last episode that I did was the end of May. I had a guest on, and it was the end of May of 2024. And I said, I'm going to take the summer off, guys. I'll be back. Don't worry. Have a great summer. I have lots of stuff planned. And my life got busy, really busy, to the point where I took the last 7 months off of even thinking about doing a podcast episode. And it's the new year. And I said, you know what? I got to get back to it because I had done 140 episodes prior to that. And it was very consistent. And it's the one thing that I love to do. And I love to be consistent with it too. And I've missed you guys. I hope you miss me too. And I hope you're listening in. But I totally missed you guys. So today's episode is a solo episode with me. We're going to catch up a little bit on what happened and what went on for the last 7 months. I've got some stories. I got a few stories for you. And then we're going to talk about the new year, new goals, what I've got going on here. I would love to know what you've got going on here too. So what's your plan for 2025? But we're going to talk about goals and goal setting and really going after the things that we want this year, because like I said, 2024 got busy. And when I say busy, I mean busy in the most fantastic, wonderful way, busy. So let's get into it. Let's get into it today. 2024. What happened? Right. So year started out, don't mind me, I'm having my tea. If you're with me on YouTube, hello. If you're watching the video part on Spotify, hello. If you're just listening in on your walk or whatever, hello. Again, I've missed you. But I'm drinking my tea too. 2024, last episode, end of May, had a great guest on. And then I said, I'm going to take the summer off because I had done weekly episodes for 4.5 years. And so it was getting to be that time where I was like, you know what? I needed a little break. And I had a busy summer. I knew it. It was time I wanted to spend with the family. I had trips. I went to Italy with my daughter for 2 full weeks, just a girls' trip, just the two of us. And we went to Italy in August, and I had all kinds of stuff going on. And I live in New England. So if you guys know New England, you get summer and you get a beautiful fall typically. And then it's wintertime, and then you go into the springtime. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy the summertime because I've only got a couple of months. I'm going to hit the beach. I'm going to do all the things. So we did that, and I did, and I traveled. And then September hit, and I was like, okay, it's September. Time to start doing episodes for the podcast again and finding guests. So here's one of the things about having your own podcast. Yes, I can do solo episodes, and I'm probably going to have a lot more this year of these solo episodes. And the second thing is I love having guests on the show. I love hearing other people's stories, what they've been up to, the reasons why they're in their ostomy, what their life has been like, what we've got going on, what they've been doing with their lives since their ostomy. And the thing is, guests are hard to find, believe it or not. There's a lot of people in ostomies that really don't want to tell their story. There's a bunch out on social media that love to do it, but to try and coordinate things to have it all work out is not so simple. And so when it came to September, I was starting to rev up a lot of work. I started to do a lot more work with Hollister, right? So the brand company, the ostomy supply company, Hollister Inc. You guys know, if you've listened to the podcast in the past, I have been an ambassador for them. Gosh, I think I signed my first contract with them back in, I think it was the summer of 2020, but I started working with them back in 2019. So it's been a long time and I love it. So things started getting really busy with what I was doing with them. And so, yeah, that's it. That's all I got. I really just have that. I got busy and in such a great way. So I went to events with them, spoke to wound care nurses, did a lot of events with ostomy nurses, some dinners. I went to some dinners and had some conversations, with the sales team and with like with WOCNs and other ostomy nurses. I went to the WOCN conference and taught Peloton classes. So I did that. That was really, really fun. They had me in the booth and I taught some Peloton classes, and whenever nurses were coming in, we actually had them put on an ostomy bag, an ostomy pouch right to their skin, and then jump on a Peloton bike. And I instructed through a class, and these nurses got to ride the bike while they were wearing the ostomy bag to see if they could feel a difference, like the flange. It was the soft convex flange. And it was to see if they could feel the difference in wearing the product and what it really felt like for us if we have it on and we're trying to ride our bikes, things like that. So that was like one event I did with them. And then I did some more, like more dinners and speaking engagements, things like that, talking in front of support groups, all kinds of stuff. So it got really busy. And I also am part of their customer advisory panel. Can't remember which name it was, but I'm part of that panel too. And I helped them create that years ago, and we've been going steady and strong with that. So there was a lot, and it was really, really good stuff. So it was all ostomy focused, and it was all about us. And I got to share my story. And I realized there was a lot of times on this podcast where I love everybody's stories, but I started forgetting about my own. I started forgetting that, yeah, you know what? I am in an ostomy too. I do live my life every single day. And what is that like, even just from my own perspective for you guys, for the listeners? And so this year's coming up, and I'm starting to think about what is it that I want to really focus on for myself for this year. One is, yes, I want to get back to doing the podcast. So we're going to get very consistent. Again, I took the break a little longer than I wanted to. I will have more guests, guys, because I know you love hearing other people's stories, because we are definitely not alone. And there'll be probably more solo episodes. And I'm going to take it down into having like themes or content that really can relate to you guys. And if there's things that you want to learn or that you would like to know or hear about, or, you want me to talk about, like, one thing I learned, now that I was going to say food, what we can eat, what we can't eat. There's just a lot in this community, and we are so individualized and so different that, what one person can eat, another person can't. And we've talked about that before. And anyways, I'm digressing. But if there is anything that you guys want to hear or want to know more about or would like to hear on this podcast, please send me a DM or an email. Go to the website, LeeAnneHayden.com. You can contact me there as well. And just send me an email and let me know other things that you want to, or leave a comment. If you're watching this on YouTube or one of the channels where you can leave comments, leave a comment below and let me know what you would like to hear on this podcast. So let's talk about it. We're going to talk about goals this week. Goals, and what does it mean to set a goal? I have set goals for myself for 30 years or so. I've set them because back in the day, I'm aging myself now, but back in the day, I was in corporate sales for years. And so I would sit down and I would kind of sit down and say, okay, what are my business goals? What are my goals for business? Now, business goals really can be easy. When we sit down and we think about what are we going to set for goals for ourselves for the year, we can sit down and say, okay, I want to make X amount of money as an income. I want to sell so many deals, whatever it is from a work perspective. But one thing that we always, or a family, I set it up in 3 different ways, 3 different classes. So I have a class for personal goals, business goals, and family goals. And I typically have about 3 things inside that I want to achieve in each one. And I always used to start with my business goals, family goals, like spend more time with my daughter, go on a trip, spend some time with my son, go on a trip with him, date nights with my husband every week, seeing my parents, or at least giving them a phone call, that kind of stuff, like back in the day. Those were my goals. And I would always start with that. And I would leave my own stuff to last most times. But over the years, I have learned that if I don't take care of this right here, this person, my being, if I don't take care of myself first, how am I going to get to those other things? So that's when I started adding in saying, my personal goals are going to be first. So for a personal goal I had one time, I was 39 years old. I was getting ready to be 40 years old. Guys, this was like 15 years ago. I turned around and I said, you know what I want to do? I want to do a fitness competition. I want to look like, I want to look like the girls on the magazine covers. I'm so glad I'm over one to look like them anymore. However, because it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of editing going on. However, I wanted to at least push my body and see what I could do to that point. So I did that. Right? It was a goal. I said, I want to do this fitness competition on this day. It was in like the week before Thanksgiving, so forever ago. And it was a week before Thanksgiving. I said, I'm going to do this as a goal. And so I sat down and I worked with a coach and we came up with a plan, and I had all my workouts scheduled. I had all my nutrition scheduled, my water intake scheduled, how many weeks I was going to go without alcohol, all that kind of stuff. Like, no dining out, really. Got to measure your food, got to make sure that to get ready for a competition, it's a lot. And it's like 12 weeks. So I did that. And those are kind of some of the things that I would do from a personal perspective. One year it was, I wanted to do a high rocks competition. That was that was after my ostomy. So that was in 2019. Yeah, because COVID was 2020, 2019. Guys, I don't know about you, but I feel like I've lost years because of COVID. But 2019, November 2019, my girlfriends and I had set a goal that we wanted to do a high rocks competition. And a high rocks competition is where it's kind of like a CrossFit competition where you run for a kilometer and then you like do sled pulls, but you're pulling like 250 pounds. And then it's like you run a kilometer and then you do sled pushes. You run a kilometer and you do ski erg and you run a kilometer and it's taken you an hour to an hour and a half to get through this whole thing, right? So it's like 8 kilometers by the time you're done and 8 different exercises that you've done. Things like that. So I set that goal and I did that after my ostomy, because I've had my ostomy since 2016. January 15th, 2016 will be 9 years with my ostomy. And I did this high rocks competition in 2019, November of 2019. So things like that we can still do. So what's happening this year and how do you set goals? I always set them as SMART goals. So you have to have clarity, you got to plan it, and then we've got to execute them. So it's really that kind of thing. And like I said, the themes. So I always start with my 3 personal goals that I want to achieve in 2025, 1, 2, 3. And I write them down. And those goals for my personal goals could be something like, here's an example. And here's one of my goals that I'm going to do this year. And I need you guys to help me with this. I am not going to have any alcohol at all for 365 days. I've already started it. Started a few weeks ago before Christmas. December 14th, I think that was the day, I'm thinking. Because I only remember that because it was the day after one of my friend's Christmas parties. Now, when I lived in Manhattan, John and I would go out all the time. We'd go out every night for dinner. And when you go out for dinner in Manhattan, the biggest thing you're doing is you're having a glass of wine or you're having a cocktail. And I would only have either a tequila or a glass of wine. That was my thing. And it kind of became a habit. And then when we moved back here to New Hampshire, and that was 4 years ago, it's coming up on 4 years, I started to slow down and we still would go out to dinner and whatever. And I never drink at home. And one thing that I realized is over these years, I did 75 hard, where I didn't drink for 75 days. And then I would do dryuary and sober October. And I would do all these things because it really wasn't a big deal. And I was like, you know what? I just want to give my liver a little help, give myself a little help. And I could go without alcohol and it's not even a big deal. So what happened is over time, I didn't really want the tequila anymore. And then it was the wine. And I love a good glass of wine. I love curling up at night. If I have a glass of wine or if I'm out in a restaurant, I just love a really good glass of wine. And you guys know, I've told you, if you listen to past podcasts, I've gone to Italy 3 times and I love a good Italian wine. And I've realized that I can no longer drink domestic wines. I just can't. So I started going out. We'd go out to dinner and I'd be looking for an Italian wine. And a lot of places have domestic wines. And I'm like, I don't even want that. So then I'd have a Prosecco. And I really didn't even want the Prosecco. I really just wanted, so it became a little bit more. It became difficult. So Christmas party, girlfriend has a Christmas party a few weeks ago. We're having a great time. We're playing games and we're drinking our wine. She had brought wine and it was domestic. And I said, you know what? The heck with it. It's Christmas. I'll have a few glasses. I'd have a few glasses of wine. We're playing games, having a great time. I woke up the next day and my body hurt. I was lethargic and I'm like, my word, it just doesn't agree with me. Domestic wine just doesn't agree with me. And it made me think, I wonder what my body could do if I gave up alcohol for an entire year, like a whole year. I wonder what it could do. Now, when I set my mind to something, I usually can make it happen. I decided to say, okay, let's go 90 days first. We're going to do 90 days. We're going to see how I feel. And then we're going to just keep pushing it because the goal is 365 days. So that's one of my goals for this year. One of my personal goals for this year. So if you look at that, I'm going to have, it's time bound. It's attainable. I can achieve it. It's a little stretch. It's pushing me a little bit, but it's no alcohol for 365 days. So that's one goal. And that's a personal goal for me. And I've got another personal goal. So I've got here, and I've got another personal goal. And one is I want to go to Greece and Italy again this year. And I want to do it with my husband. We got invited to a wedding. The wedding happens to be in Greece. So putting that as a goal, because John is so busy working half the time that when it comes to wanting to go away, I'm doing it on my own, or I'm doing it with one of the kids. Him and I will go to New York or California, things like that together. But a lot of times it has to have businesses included in that. He's off on a business trip, or I'm off on a business trip, and we're doing it together. This is going to be actual vacation. So that's one of my goals. It's going to be like, that's a family goal. That's a trip goal. That's with the family. That's with John. Hey, we're going away for 2 weeks. We're going to shut it all down and go ahead and enjoy ourselves for 2 weeks. So that's another goal. And I'm putting the date in there because the wedding is in January. So I'm like, okay, this is when we're doing it. So do you see what I mean? And then my business goals. I already have my new contract within Hollister for this year. So I already know what those goals are. And then I set goals for the podcast and then a couple of other endeavors that I have. So I started working on those. So each category, so personal, family, and business, typically 3 goals, sometimes 4 if it's important and I know it's coming up and I know I need to push for it. 4 goals max, but mostly 3. And it's time bound. And I write it down. I have my little journal. I have all my goals right here on my little journal, and I write it down. Now, I used to, if you're more visual, and I'll probably end up doing it again. I used to do, on top of writing down the goals, was a vision board. And vision boarding is fun. I mean, it's like crafting. And you might be like, listen, I'm a big burly guy driving my truck in North Carolina. Sorry, Dave, I'm kind of calling you out if you're listening. Anyways, vision boarding is fun. And I used to do it with the kids, and I used to do it with John. And I'd be like, okay, what are our goals? And let's get pictures. Like very visual. Like if you're watching the thing, if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify or wherever where the video is here, watching me now, I've got my picture behind me of a picture that I took on my most favorite street in Italy the time I went on a solo trip. And I blew that baby up 36 inches by 24 inches. It's huge. It's standing behind my head, so it looks like my head's in the middle of the street. So I took that photo. So I visualize things. I love it. That's what I do. So sometimes I'll get like a big poster board, and I'll start cutting out pictures. I'll start cutting out things that I want to do. I want to go to, or, back if it was a high rocks competition or my fitness competition, what venues was I going to go to? What programs was I going to do? What, from a business perspective, how much did I want to earn for that year? And how was I going to get there? What kind of community do I want to be surrounded in? What kind of positive people do I want? And I'd put pictures of people that I knew that were positive, and, that whole thing. And I would put that vision board out there. Now, I've done this for years. And the crazy thing is, I've done it for years. And most times, a lot of the things that are on those vision boards have come true. And I truly believe that when you set your mind to something that you want to achieve and you put it somewhere where you can do it, I have it written down because it's not, again, I'm recording this. It's not January 1st yet, but I wrote down what I want to have happen. And soon enough, you'll probably see a vision board in my office. By the way, I got a new office, in my new office, where I can see it every day. And I'm like, yep, you know what? Am I working towards that goal, or am I just procrastinating something? Because I'll tell you, it's really easy to procrastinate. It's really easy to give up on yourself. It's really easy to not achieve the things that you want to achieve. End 2025 and you're like, what did I do this year? What is it that you want? And it's all individualized. Like, what do you want? I've been talking to people that say, I've watched you go to Italy 3 times in 2 years. I've wanted to go for years. How did you do that? And I go, you know what? I put it on a vision board. I've wanted to go to it for so long. I know the places. I know the specific streets I want to see. I know the things that I want to do. I want to go into Tuscany and drink wine here. Well, not this year. Can't be drinking wine this year. But, I want to go and do these things. I want to see the world. I want to achieve it. And so when I put it in there, and when I went to Italy, I made sure it was almost like my mind had seen it so many times of what I wanted that I started to do it. Or I started to say, you know what, I want to go do it, and I need to save some money to go do it. I got to start putting away money over here so I can go do this over here. Or I need to earn more money, create another business, do another thing, right, over here to create more of an income so that I can do the beautiful things that I want to do, the trips, the things, maybe back in the day, I used to love Louis Vuitton purses, guys. I could care less about that stuff now. Since cancer, I'm like, I have one bag. That's it. I got it. And I only kept that one bag because I got it in Paris at the Louis Vuitton store. But other than that, like, I don't care about that stuff anymore. Like, none of that stuff matters. However, it might matter to you. You might say, you know what? I've wanted a Louis bag for a very long time. I think I'm going to go and get that this year. How am I going to go get that? How? Now, how are you going to do that? Right? So, or it might be, I want to take my family to Disney, or gosh, I'm getting ready to retire soon. Do I have the plan ready? What am I doing? What am I doing? And a lot of this we can do as long as, and I know I'm talking to a lot of people who have had chronic illnesses and we're in ostomy bags. I had cancer. I went through my process. That's why I'm in an ostomy bag. But I know there's a lot of you out there that you have Crohn's, and you have colitis, and maybe your health doesn't let you get to do certain things. However, set some small goals for yourself. Set some small things for yourself. Maybe it's, you know what, I need to start getting a little healthier. I need to learn more. I need to learn more about this disease, or learn more about the foods I can eat, or learn more about the clothes that I can wear, or whatever that is. So let's take that for an example. Like, I want to learn how to eat better for my health. So you can start researching. So one of your goals could be, learn how to, like, read X amount of books on blank topic, whatever the topic is. Like, read like 5 books over the next 2 months that all pertain to how to eat healthier. And then start to write down in a journal. Journal daily. One of your goals could be, I'm going to journal daily on what I'm eating and what it's doing to my body and how I feel. I'm going to journal every day on how I feel, right? Like, basically how I feel in general. Those kinds of things. Like, a journal entry could be, like, journaling could be a goal for you for the year. Like, I'm going to journal every single morning for 5 minutes, or I'm going to journal once a week for 10 minutes. Right? Whatever that is, it doesn't have to be these big, extravagant things. They can be small, little things too. So those are the things. You got to be clear on what you want. You got to be very, very clear on what you want, and then you plan for it. And then you execute on it. So then you're like, okay, I'm now going to step into learning more. What are those books that I'm going to read, right? Or what is that journal? Do I need a good book that I want to journal in? Or is there a trip I want to take this year and I'm a little afraid to take a trip because now I'm in an ostomy and I really want to go on a trip. How do I do it? How do I do it? The goal can be, I want to go to Europe. I want to go out of the state. Whatever your goal is, how do I do it? What are the steps that I need to take to get to that one specific goal? Okay. So I want to hear what your goals are. I've got my goals. Like I told you guys a few of them. I've got 9, 10. I think I got 10 in here, 10 goals for myself in here for the year, which is going to happen. And I really just wanted to say hi again and get this thing rolling. It's been, like I said, it's been 7 months since I've done a podcast episode, and I had to relearn programs. I had to relearn like a whole new program that I'm using to record this on. I had to relearn. Things changed. So the hosting place that I had I'm no longer working with them anymore. Now it's like I had to move everything over to Spotify and to a new thing or whatever. So it's a lot. And I've missed you guys. And we're going to get back to being structured. We're going to get back to having guest episodes. And it's just going to be a fantastic, fabulous year. I just hope you guys have an amazing, amazing 2025, an amazing, amazing new year. I've missed you. I'd love to hear from you. So please make sure that you comment below what your goals are say hi, even if you just want to say hi. I love hearing from you guys. Send me a DM, hit me up on social. You know my social handles, hit me up on social, send me a DM, or go right over to LeeAnneHayden.com and send me an email. And we will talk next week on the Beautiful Bag podcast. We'll talk soon.
These testimonials are representative of my or our experiences, but the exact results and experience will be unique and individual to each person. The information provided herein is not medical advice and is not intended to substitute for the advice of your personal physician or other healthcare providers.